Welcome to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast, the show where aspiring and experienced matchmakers come to sharpen their skills, grow their businesses, and elevate the matchmaking industry. Your host is Arlene Washburn, an award-winning ethical matchmaking advocate, mentor, and industry innovator. Let's dive in.
Suzanne, welcome to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast.
Have you ever felt called to help others find love? You might,
or her signature red, which I always admire, and her dynamic energy. I can't wait for this conversation. Just today, I was checking out one of the free resources on your website. And let me tell you guys, the value she shares for free is absolutely incredible. It made me think, if this is what she gives away, imagine what she's like to work with. So, Cat, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, this is going to be good.
And I just can't wait for you to start talking because I love all your little sayings and all of the stuff that, anyway, people will realize what I'm talking about momentarily. But to kick things off, for those people who are meeting you for the first time, can you share what exactly it is that you do and who you do it for?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is there's a lot of people who drive traffic to your website, right? So the SEO, the Google ads, even, some organic and stuff. And at best, 3% is going to convert. So that means that 3% of the population is ready to buy. What I focus on is the 97. What are you doing with that 97%, and how and what are you putting in front of them that's helping shorten the sales cycle and turn all of those people into your best referral engine machine? So that's what I do. I put the systems, the process, the strategy behind the strategy so that you have that business that you are not stressed about. Why? Because when you're not stressed about the revenue that you're making, you show up as a better version of yourself in the lives of the people that you love. And in turn, that puts out more love into the world. And that's why I do what I do.
I love it. And I know one of the things that you share with the folks that work with you is this concept of firework experiences. And I would love for you to share a little bit about this because everything you do has a framework, which is so cool.
Yeah. So Firework Experiences is really around being more strategic and intentional with what you're putting out in front of people. So we all know we're supposed to put content down. We're supposed to do these things, and this is marketing and that's marketing. But what I find is most people are doing what I call fence post marketing, which is they're kind of throwing something over the fence and then hiding and then peeking over to see if it's working. So what we want to do is actually be more intentional behind what it is that we're sharing with people. So I usually use an example of ever opt in for something and you were super excited about it, you got it, and it was basically a hot piece of garbage. Yeah, let's not do that. So what we want to do is think about what is it that we can put in front of people that helps solve a very specific problem that makes them a better buyer. And that requires strategy. That requires intention. It requires, being purposeful. So what we want to do is create an experience. Every interaction with you, whether it's your content, your business card, a handshake, is an interaction, is an experience. And you want to make sure that every time someone has an experience with you, that it leads them to wanting to engage you and work with you. So these firework experiences attract a large amount of attention. It creates true leverage when it comes to the online space, and it helps create a community around you that not only is that community full of your buyers, but it's full of referral partners, because we've all referred someone that we've never bought from. So we want to make sure that we're activating all of our relationships with intention so that we can leverage our time and increase our impact with more strategy.
Everything that you said, but if somebody's listening to this, they're like, oh my God, there's so much
buzzword.
I mean, is it a lot of work or is, yeah. A lot.
So here's the thing. A firework experience is strategically picked based off of your strengths, right? You have unique strengths that lend themselves to certain marketing strategies. We also look at who your ideal client is. So there's let's say 5 strengths that we look at and 3 kind of buckets of ideal clients. When we have those 2 things together, right, I'm like, where's the thing? It creates a matrix. So it's like a times table. So we'll go, okay, I like number 4 and that's a number 3. Here's the strategy I can use. So there's only going to be 2 or 3 strategies that are going to work for you and your ideal client. So when we connect those, right, and it's being able to answer the question, what's next? Okay, so you spoke on stage. Awesome. What's next? So they got the freebie. What's next? That's an ecosystem. It's designing these experiences. It's like choosing your own adventure where nobody dies. So we all read those books back in our childhood, right? And eventually the otter ate the slow fish and it died. So that was the one that traumatized me. So we want to look at what are the different pathways that your ideal client may take as they interact with you. Because the last thing we want to do is prepare them to buy from someone else because you didn't have something for them to consume next. So when we're intentional and we have this next thing, we create this experience that allows them to become ready. And what that means is only 3% of people are ready to buy. 7% of people need a little bit more information to get to the 3. 60% of people need to be nurtured to get to the 7, to get to the 3, and 30% are never going to buy. So they're 100%. So it's not always you don't know how to communicate your value, or you're not great at this or that, or whatever it is. Sometimes it's just a timing thing. Maybe they just bought from someone. Maybe they're about to go on vacation. It has nothing to do with you, but where they are. So we want to fill our pipeline with people who are becoming ready to buy. And so we make it less about the sale and more about the conversation, which means that we humanize this whole marketing sales thing and make it about building a real relationship so that you're attracting your idealist clients. So quick recap, all about your strengths so that you enjoy doing the marketing. It's not about selling. It's about having a conversation, and it's about doing things that you're going to enjoy doing so that, you actually do it and that you generate that full pipeline so that you're empowered, so that you're not attached to the sale, so that you can always say, if someone says no, that's fine, next.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you talk about in your application about doing marketing and sales without the sleaze. Tell me more about that.
So selling is good. We do it all the time. We've been doing it since we first started crying for milk, right? Think about how hard you hustled for that cookie, how determined you were to get it, how you were going to repeat yourself over and over again. So we were innately born with sales capabilities. It's not that someone's good or bad at sales. It's that we got bro marketized. So these bro marketers are out there saying you have to close on the first call. You have to get the card. You have to overcome all the objections. Most of us don't sell that way, and we definitely don't buy that way. So it makes sense that there's so much stuff that gets activated as part of this sales and marketing process. And the thing is that most people, when they got into business, they just want to deliver on the work that they love. They want to work with the clients that they love. They didn't get into business to be sales and marketing experts. Good news for them is I did. And so it's really around looking at how do we make this a positive experience so that you're not getting activated? Because the most times it's not that that person's ready to say no or anything like that. Your stuff, right? Inside you, your trauma, your triggers are getting activated, and you're just projecting them onto the other person. So it's simple little things like assume that you're going to follow up with someone at least 5 times. If you've already planned to follow up 5 times, then there's no issue when you follow up the second or the third time. Until someone tells you to take a long walk off a short pier, follow up. Assume about building a relationship and engage people that you get excited about working with. It's a little bit like a mini skirt. And trust me, I can wear one. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So just because I can close someone doesn't mean I should. So it's about finding those really amazing human beings that you just can't wait to work with and claiming them energetically and allowing them the space to get ready to buy. And you have to look at what you can control and what you can't. I cannot make someone buy. I can't make that happen. I can influence it. I can look at sending another email. What are the things I can control? I can follow up one more time. I can pick up the phone and call them. So really looking at what you can control and making sure that you're leveraging all of those levers in your business and getting to the point where you're like, I did enough. And then knowing that and you and trusting yourself that you will get there.
I agree. And as you know, I teach professional and aspiring matchmakers, and we talk a lot about this. And to your point, and to use your terminology, which I absolutely love, all your naming conventions, is bro marketing doesn't work in the industry that I work with. People are highly emotional, and they're really looking to solve a problem, and it's a very vulnerable place to be. And when you're having a conversation with a matchmaker typically, or even a salesperson in the matchmaking world, you don't want to be feeling like you're being sold. You want to feel like you're being understood, and that they have the systems and the processes that could potentially get you to your results. And so I love everything that you said. And speaking of brand conventions in branding and naming conventions and branding and stuff like that, I always talk to matchmakers about making their services productized, because people are more comfortable purchasing a product than a service, because the service just feels kind of like nebulous, like it's not, and I know you talk a lot about this, and I would love to hear more. I mean, I just love to hear you talk because you're hilarious. And I love all your little sayings. And I think people are picking up what I was mentioning in the beginning. But tell me more about this type of thing of productizing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what, we've been told, you got a niche, right? So I help 52-and-a-half-year-old women who are divorced with 5 kids and, are homeless on the street. Like that's not niching, right? And it's not about niching. It's about being clear on the problem that you solve. I see a lot of people who aren't clear on that. And so they're just kind of fluffy with their marketing. So, I'm going to help you, let's, use your space, right? I'm going to help you find love. That's not the thing, right? It is an aspect of it. What does love represent for your ideal client? Is it security? Is it safety, right? Is it, tickling each other when you're 80 years old? Like, how much does that image convey in terms of love and commitment and relationship versus I'll help you find love, right? So it is about a little bit of storytelling, being very clear on what it is that you solve as a problem and differentiating yourself. Just like any space, for the most part, there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who do what we all do. So how we differentiate ourselves is by creating nomenclature. Right. And what I mean is you can't compare yourself to someone who doesn't talk about what you do in the same way. So the likelihood is someone who's been looking for love, right, who's looking to find their soulmate, has probably tried different solutions in all likelihood, right? They've, done something. So if you talk about your services the same way that the app does or your competitor does, then you're comparable to those things. Now, if you talk about how you have, a love, matchmaking love soulmate blueprint, and nobody else has that, then you can't compare yourself to someone else. And so now you start looking at charging on the value. And so I use my favorite made up word, which is you need to concretize. And this is what you talk about, productize, right? But my ADHD brain likes to make up words sometimes. And that came out one day when I was doing a workshop and it stuck. So you want to concretize, make something more concrete. It's not, you're going to get this ethereal thing or whatever, this love potion or whatever it is. You want to make sure that it's something that they feel like they're going to get in their hands, that they can re-leverage a system, a method, a process, a blueprint, something that, and what that does is it speaks to the brain. And what I mean is the ego, it's the logic. Decisions are made from the heart. Decisions are emotional, but you can't get to the heart and the emotion if you don't first go through the logic and the brain. So if you're talking about all these feelings and these emotions, our brain's going to go, nope, give me the numbers and give me the facts. If you give them the facts and the numbers, then you can start talking about the emotion. So if you think about any kind of relationship, for the most part, you don't get married on the first date. What do you start asking for? You go for the things like, what do you do? what do you enjoy doing? What are the fun? These are facts. These are things that we can point to and we can experience. And then we tap into our emotions. Because anytime we've gone on a first date and let our emotions get away with it, we know it hasn't worked. So don't treat your leads, your prospects, like a one-night stand where you're just trying to get to the dollar. That's just like a man going or a woman going out with their other partner or prospect and trying to sleep with them on the first date. It doesn't typically work out, and don't go for the one story where it did, because that's the exception, not the rule. And I tend to live my life by what typically works, not by the exceptions. So that when the exceptions happen, it's in addition to what's consistently working.
You are speaking to, I mean, we're right here. I love everything that you shared. I do want to go back to one thing that you mentioned, and I agree that you have to be very clear on the problem that you solve. In the matchmaking world, I tend to recommend that people select a niche, if you will, because of the nature of the work that we do, which is I have to build a database. So if I'm working with women, I need to have a database of men.
Absolutely.
So that kind of thing. So talk a little bit more about how to go ahead and niche down so that you can have a target and have targeted marketing, if you will, rather than trying to be everything to everyone, which is what I find my students when they start out as matchmakers, they think they're losing business if they're not everything to everyone.
Yeah.
Like you're losing business because of it. Instead, you want to pick a lane and be, have a unique selling proposition, and really show what makes you different.
Right. No, absolutely. And I should say it's niching is important to a certain extent. And then we start adding on all these. So you want to, validate. But what I see a lot of people do is they niche only to the demographic. And what I mean is they're picking, let's say women 35 to 55 or something like that. Or they're like, hey, women. Right. So if we think about, a general demographic, it's like fishing with a net with no insides. So it's just like a big square rope. You're not going to catch anything. And if you're trying to catch the whale, the likelihood is that the whale isn't going to be harnessed by a very simple rope. So the niching are the intricacies of the net, right? So you're going through and you're clarifying, you're going up and down and you're qualifying. So what we want to think about too, beyond just the demographics of I work with corporate women who are, 45 to 55, right? It's because you're like after 40, they get divorced and that's when they're on the prowl, right? Making a certain amount of income. Maybe they're C-suite, right? Maybe they all graduated from Ivy Leagues. These are all things that are searchable. And let's say we use LinkedIn as an example, but these are demographic components that are searchable typically online. You can target ads and things by this. What you want to get clearer on is the psychographics. What are the values that your ideal clients have in common? Like, what is that common thread, as they like to say in the consulting world, right? So are they people who love to go on vacation, right? Do they have kids? And those things aren't always searchable online. But what I like to do oftentimes is pull up two different platforms. So I might pull up LinkedIn and Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram, or something like that. The reason I do two different platforms is people behave differently on different platforms. What you post on Instagram is not what you're posting on LinkedIn. And I tend to use LinkedIn from the sense of, a lot of my client base are professionals and they tend to be on that space, but use whatever it is that you're looking for. So if we're looking at that, they're going to post vacation pictures or things that they're value aligned towards on, more likely on Instagram and Facebook than they would on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has that professional aesthetic still. And so they're going to behave differently. So you're going to be able to gain insights. But let's say, for example, that you work with overachieving women. Well, how do you search for that? There are indicators. People are leaving a bunch of data and information about themselves readily available for you to analyze if you're willing to pay attention. And what I mean is if you're working with ambitious, overachieving women, well, what do you look for? Look for a bunch of certifications, look for higher education, look for people who are running podcasts or books. These are people who are exerting and trying to capture more authority and expertise. Look at that person's promotion track. If you're looking for someone who's going to become an executive, look at how long they've been in their current position. How long has it been since they've been promoted? So there's lots of ways to find the information that you want. If you take 30 seconds to pre-qualify, and this comes right back down to the niching, which is, do you even know what qualifiers are for you? What are the indicators that someone is a good fit all around the psychographics, demographics, and are you actually using them before you engage with someone in conversation?
Before we, I do want to talk a little bit more about LinkedIn, but before we do, what advice would you give matchmakers in terms of their sales cycle? Because pretty much everything that a matchmaker sells, even if they have multiple packages, are considered high ticket. And, we started out the conversation with these, what do you call them? Marketing pros.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, that quick close
Yeah.
is usually not the case when you're selling packages that are at least 5,000 or more. And people have this concept in their mind that that's what you do. You close on the first call, and that's not necessarily the case. So what advice would you give them on how to
So
close high ticket?
one, compare yourself to where someone is. It is not fair for me to compare myself to Oprah, but could I compare myself to Oprah 30 years ago? Right? So we want to watch how we compare ourselves. We want to watch the amount of grace we give ourselves. We tend to, not recognize how far we've come, overstep that, and just keep looking at the gap instead of looking at what we've achieved. So just a little mindset hack, like tweak right there. The other thing that we want to look at when it comes to, shortening the sales cycle and trying to get more clients faster is are you providing an experience? So because there's so many people out there, what happens is especially when you're talking about something as intimate as matchmaking, there's a couple of things that need to be in place. One, that person needs to feel like like, and trust them. Not that they know, like, and trust you. We've all bought from personal trainers. Did we like them? Did we trust them? Probably, but we didn't like them. We hated them, but we still showed up. But why did we buy from them? Because we felt like they understood us, that they were in alignment with what our goals were. They liked, and trusted us. And so if your marketing isn't conveying the deepest recesses of what your ideal client is thinking, then you're staying at a superficial level and you're not getting to the point. So you're wasting their time and they're wasting yours. And what you're doing, and your competitors love this, is you're preparing them to buy from someone else. So if you ever have those conversations and someone said, hey, it's a little bit too much for me, and then like a month later or a few weeks later, or even the next day, you see them and they bought from a competitor and you're like, but they're twice as much as me. It's because you didn't provide a good experience for your ideal client. Guess what? That's on you, not them. So people need to start gaining control of their business and understanding what they can and can't control, and making sure that they're taking actions on the things they can. So things like giving them a good experience, putting marketing out there that really hits to the pain point, looking at, are you picking up and having a conversation, or are you hiding behind a sales page and an email? High ticket sales don't happen behind a sales email. They happen in conversation. So here's the thing, biggest trick, hack, shortcut: put on a pair of pants with buttons and get out there and shake someone's hand. Get out and energetically connect with someone. Go network, go speak, get seen. People buy so much faster when they can energetically experience you, because that know, like, and trust factor gets instantly transferred when there's that connection. But if you're not willing to put yourself out there, to share your values, to share what it is that you're about, what you're for, what you're against, how can someone entrust money with you and their future stake at happiness?
Absolutely agree. I'm so happy you're here. You may have to come once a month. I do want to talk about LinkedIn, which is my home away from home these days. And I know that there are matchmakers out there that are really missing a huge opportunity with that platform. It has gone through a major transformation from when I joined. I think I joined the year they started, which was a very long time ago. And I used to call it my Rolodex, and nobody knew what the hell is this platform. But I love LinkedIn, especially for what I do, which is teach and run a school for matchmaking and talk about ethics and compliance. But I do think there's a huge opportunity for matchmakers on this platform, and I'm starting to see them come in. But getting on the platform is not enough. There are so many things, and I know that you teach this about how to create a profile that's compelling, that's going to make people want to have a conversation with you. And I would love for you to share some tips on that if you don't mind.
Yes. So one of the biggest areas that I see are, usually the bookends of the profile. And what I mean is it's the banner in the back. People either leave it the arbitrary default, LinkedIn blue, and that is a huge piece of real estate. So if you think about it, that's your billboard on the highway. And if you're not driving traffic to something, then you're missing a big opportunity. So part of this is the consistency of your brand, the consistency of your message, giving people an opportunity. And let me caveat this with no piece of content is likely going to convert someone, meaning they're not going to read your one article or listen to your one podcast or download your one free lead magnet and then buy from you. That is the exception, not the rule. So what we want to think about is that piece of content, like a business card, is a doorway. Right. And what I mean is if you don't have a business card, people are going to look at you weird. And if you have a crappy business card, remember the ones we could print at home and they were like the ink smudged, they're going to look at you weird. But if you have one, okay, everybody has a business card. So it's a doorway. What's next? But are you even letting people know that there's a door that they can walk through? So what is your call to action on your banner? What is your professional branding, right? Are you consistent? Then make sure that your image is one that is forward facing, not to the side, not with a red Solo cup. I've seen it, saw a shirtless pic once, didn't like it. So make sure that it's covering, roughly 67% is your face, that you're looking forward and towards people and smiling. Don't be weird and have like a scowl. That's not approachable. And then the other biggest place on the top of the bookend is your headline. It's not always about you, but what results you're helping people achieve. So make sure that it is solution focused and you're clear about it. Now, I want to caveat this with, we acknowledge the pain. We don't punch people in the face with it. So acknowledge the pain that someone is dealing with and connect them to the possibility. Why? Because someone who is painfully focused on their problems are going to be harder to close. And what I mean is they're going to be resentful. They're going to throw in objections. You're going to have to handle them, all this other stuff. Resentful yeses ask for refunds. People who are connected to possibility, those are the resounding yeses, meaning they want the results. It's not, they don't want their money back. They want the results. So they're going to do and listen and implement. So resounding yeses get results. Resentful yeses ask for refunds. So when we market to the possibility, we attract more of the resounding people. So we want to make sure that we're solution focused and not just saying stuck in a mud or whatever it is and punch, right? So the last thing on your LinkedIn profile is look at the testimonials or the recommendations received, right? When was the last time someone gave you a testimonial? P.S. When's the last time you put it in your marketing? You should be sharing testimonials and case studies. And yes, you're in I need to protect my client's identity. Protect your client's identity. Change the name. Refer them to, let's call them Amy, right? Or whatever it is. But share the story. The story is not proprietary. Change the information you need to change in order to keep their identity secret if that's what's needed to happen. But the story is still one that people can see themselves in. So make sure that once a week, and I don't care if it happened 30 years ago, if you connected your 8th grade friend with your, 9th grade buddy or whatever it is. So, just as long as it was legal. So let's do college, 21-year-old and 20-year-old, right? Whatever. But like, if it happened and you were a part of it, share the story and do what I call, it's the cat's fable, which is what's the story and what's the moral? What's the business lesson? What's the life lesson that came out from the story? And when you share these stories and you're documenting, not always creating, then it helps people see the insight into not just what it would look like to work with you, but also your values and the kind of clients you work with so they can identify themselves in your marketing and feel like you're talking to them. So think about the bookends, re-leverage those recommendations as part of your social media because now they're testimonials and, keep doing the good work.
I agree with everything. And I'm curious, when you talk about testimonials, are you speaking about the testimonials that are on LinkedIn, where people go in, or you're saying bring whatever testimonials and post them as content?
Both.
Okay.
Because you can re-leverage what people shared. It's become public domain and they've made their identity known. And so they've shared their image. So now you can share that testimonial without any kind of problem because they've outed themselves, if you will. And make sure that when you get a testimonial, that it is quantifiable. So how do I quantify this? This person didn't get married. Okay. So make sure you assess at the beginning on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you in life right now? How hopeful are you? Whatever the measure is, 6 months in on a scale of 1 to 10, where is it? Okay. So it looks like back in December when we met, you were at a 20%. And it looks like now you're at 40%. So that looks like a 20% increase in your level of satisfaction.
Okay, matchmakers, if you heard, they're always trying to figure out what KPIs and what they can use as leverage for marketing, but that it is accurate. And because I worry that a lot of matchmakers talk about their success rate, and I'm like, you know, that's irrelevant, because the success of people ending up married or whatever is really on them. You're doing your job. So that you just mentioned is gold. And I hope that everyone who heard that comment is now going to track where their clients are in the beginning and where they are every step of the way, and see a positive progression. I love that KPI. Wow. That was mind blowing. I know maybe for you, you're like, what? It's not that big a deal. I'm like, trust me, that was huge. You're so smart, Kat. And I think the last time we spoke, you were telling me you were going for another degree. Like, what is your background?
It's funny. I have this very scattered background that makes so much sense now, but again, it's how you narrate the story, and I'm the narrator of my life. So I have a ton of experience in tech, project management. I used to be in corporate. I used to be in a nonprofit space. I did bookkeeping. So like I have, financial acumen, and I have business operations and process reengineering and change management, ITIL, Agile, PMP. I also have my MBA from the University of Maryland. I'm currently pursuing a PhD in metaphysics and philosophy. I have 3 children. I'm 2.5 years post-divorce, and I run actually now 2 businesses. So I'm also trying to get my pilot's license. So yeah, I also have a 1.5-year-old dog, and I just did a whole bunch of gardening and planted 12 different kind of vegetables. So here's the thing. It's all a matter of priority, and we can't have multiple priorities, but it's really looking at what is a priority for me right now, and being able to bring that in. And so sometimes it's a little bit of progress on one of the things, but it also looks like giving myself the grace and space to truly be present in the lives of my children, in my own life, in my own identity, and really being mindful about what is the legacy I'm leaving and how do I want to show up in the world as an example. And so when I keep those things, at the forefront, those are my priorities. And if I am not feeling great, it's probably because one of my priorities, one of my values is being dishonored. And so that's up to me to get back in alignment.
So good. So good. And I always believe that it's all about integrating. There's no work-life balance. There's no balance. It's just what's the priority.
It's harmony. That's the best word that I found, because my business cycle, and this is, pay attention to this in your business. There's a natural flow in your business cycle. There are times where you're busier and there's times where things are slower. And it's really looking at what are you taking advantage when things are busy, and what are you putting in place so that when you're busy, right, it doesn't feel as much. And so really looking at, yes, it might ebb and flow, but it might ebb and flow like this, where it's actually flowing, and at 30,000 foot view, it looks very still. So even still water is going crazy. It just depends on how close you're looking at it. And so all of this is a matter of perspective. And so it's really just coming back in and saying, how do I want to be living my life? If I'm not living it that way, then who is a resource? Because at this point, if you could have, you would have. And so it's not, we have been trained, especially as women, that we should not ask for help. We need to be humble. We need to do it on our own, but be part of community. And I'm not going to go into the Barbie, monologue, but basically you're not meant to do it by yourself. It's about rallying and finding your people in your community that can support you and be just fearless cheerleaders for each other. And I know that's exactly what you've built as part of your community. And so one of the things I want to make sure people do is jump in and participate, because you provide so much value and so much support as part of helping people achieve their success, but doing it in a way that is ethical and in alignment with their values.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because that really is so important to me. And it's because it's part of my values, and I wanted to create something that aligned with me. And I think it's better for everyone, for the daters, for the matchmakers, when everyone is behaving ethically. Um, I was going to ask you something about, when I was listening to you, I was thinking downtime. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were feeling guilty because they took time off to go do XYZ. I don't remember the details. And I'm like, that is part of the process. That is part of being a great CEO, is taking a moment to breathe and like self-love, self-care. And all of a sudden things start to pop into your head, and you find the answers to a lot of the business problems that you might have.
Yeah.
I don't think that people put enough value on that, to taking that break. You think like hustle, 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 which I hate that word. I don't like the
I just
hustle.
got sick in my stomach hearing it.
Exactly.
People are surprised at my kind of schedule. So there are times I am human and I let my schedule get away from me, but it's by choice. Okay. So I am right now in the process of filling some group programs. I have onboarded some new clients. I started a second business, but I chose that, which meant that I know that I need to put in structure to create the harmony. And what that means is I don't work after 5 p.m. It used to be 4 p.m., but it's 5 p.m. right now until probably mid-June. And then I'm going to be able to pull that in. So, but I knew that for the first 6 months of this year, it was going to look like this. So I don't get mad at myself when I'm still working at 5 p.m. because I made that choice. And so really it's about being the CEO, not just in your business, but in your life, and understanding that we are not victims to our choices, right? We might have been victims to childhood trauma and things like that, but you're a grown ass adult, and it's time to sit in your seat and start looking at how you want to be living and putting in the infrastructures. And that means systems and processes, and making decisions and choosing a different decision if you don't like the decision that you've been making. And so I don't start anything before 10. I will work until 4, usually 5 lately. I have a nap every day, and I don't work on weekends.
We are so aligned. It's crazy. Every time I talk to you, I hear very similar things. And, I'm very much the same way. And I'm running 3 businesses. I just had my 92-year-old mom move in with me. I have to cook every meal for her, do
Yep.
everything for her. I have my grandson. So I only work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, half a day Thursday. I pretty much take Fridays off.
And what that does is it makes you more productive. Now, here's the thing, and I just said this to someone today, was talking about, oh, well, I do really well when like my back's against the wall and doing things at the last minute. But she was just going on and on. I said, yeah, it sounds like you're really dedicated you're really disciplined about being undisciplined. She just kind of sat back in her chair, and I said, so that tells me that you have discipline, but you're choosing to not have intention. So really what it is are you being very disciplined about being undisciplined? And if so, how can you shift your intention so that you support your life instead of destroying it?
Mic drop. Oh my gosh. It's amazing the kind of stuff that we defend in our behavior. And
I can't do that. I'm ADHD. Guess what? I got diagnosed a year ago. I've been living 42 years without realizing that I had ADHD. And as an overachiever that I am, I got both. Right. So no, you don't get to, someone has it worse, someone has it better. That response is a victim response. That means you're in lack. So I'm not surprised if you're not achieving the abundance that you want. So get back into your power. Go put your feet in the grass, ground yourself, and start making different decisions. Look, I've been known to give tough love, but here's the thing. It all comes from a place of love, because the people that I work with, I emphatically believe in. But that's because they want to solve the problem. They're not committed to being victims.
You're my kind of gal, because I tell people I'm not for everyone. I am a straight shooter. I'm going to tell you the truth. And, if you can't handle the truth, you can't handle the truth. Don't come over here.
You know how many times I've been told, slow down when you talk? And I said, no.
You're hearing.
I said, speed up. Catch up.
Pay attention.
Right. Catch up. And the reason is this is who I am. I have been, and I mean, I was too much and not enough and always in the wrong situation. Here's the thing. I've embraced my allness. I'm not waiting till 80 years old to stand in my power. I'm in it now. I am living my best life. And so I'm going to show up as me, because if I show up as a different variation of myself, I'm one, masking, which I am done with that life. But if I am masking and then you start working with me and then I show my real self, I am unethical. I have now bait and switched you. I have put on a persona. And it's like when people are dating, your representative is showing up for the first 3 months or so, right? You're trying to be the perfect woman to attract the perfect guy, or be the perfect gentleman to attract the perfect lady, whatever that is, or guy and girl, whatever it is that your thing, like, all good. Just golden rule, be a good human. That's the one rule I live by. And so looking at why trauma, okay, do the inner work, but show up in your allness. You're not too much and you're not enough. You're just all of everything. And the right people, the right clients, the right partner, the right friend will see your allness and go, that is so perfect. Because when you show up in your allness, that is the most client attractive energy you can be in. Because we are often representing and honoring the values that our clients aren't. We are the after to their before.
I have goosebumps with everything you said. It's so good. And oh gosh, there's just so much gold here that I'm not going to recap, which I try to do sometimes when people are on the show, because you don't need any recaps. You are so clear. And I love all your little sayings. I'm going to have to spend a day just working on my little sayings so I can have
the self-proclaimed queen of the one-liners. So I will wear that crown proudly.
But they're so good, and they have so much punch. And I really think that there's a lot to that. I feel that that's a marketing tool as well. It's like you're known for this, and you say things in a certain way that people, oh yeah, that's Cat, I love that. And your signature red and how consistent you are with everything. It's pretty amazing. Before we go, I can't believe we're almost at the hour. I think we have a few more minutes. I want to talk about whatever it is that you're doing right now that you feel is something that people need to be looking at,
So one of the things I've been working on is I have developed my second business, and it just kind of stars aligned. One of the things that I'm always looking at is, how do I get my clients bigger results? It's the iterative process of my brain of what's next kind of thing. And one of the things that I realized was, even though I provide my clients with like 2,000 templates, even though I give them the words even sometimes to say, and, so oftentimes people get stuck in this place of, how do I go from weather to weather? And what I mean is how do I go from talking about the weather to whether we should work together? That weather to weather turn of the conversation is where most people get stuck in the sleaze and the slime. And so I started looking at what's missing. And so one of the things that I had no intention of doing and developing was building out a CRM. And what it does is it really looks at fail-proofing the follow-up. And that's where I see people leave money on the table all the time. It's, you get activated, you're not sure what to say, where do I take them next? The strategies are laid out, the pages are built out, the templates are in there. It's very ADHD friendly in terms of, all right, we need to follow up. Here are the 3 options, right? And it's task friendly and all this other stuff. And it really just looks at using automation, but keeping the humanity as part of the conversation. So yes, there's a lot of, templates and things like that, but they are humanized. You input into them, the automation breaks strategically in certain places so that you can interact with it. And so it really looks at building the systems and the automation, because this is not something that, only multi 8, 9, 10 figure businesses get to have, right? You get to access this too. And so it's like at 10% of the cost of places like HubSpot and Salesforce, and gives you the same level of access in terms of automation.
That is such a great tool, because I think most of the money is in the follow-up. You have one conversation and it's just not enough. And
the average salesperson gives up after one follow-up. And if you're listening to this right now, you are a marketer and you are a salesperson. So if you got triggered and said, not me, I'd look at that. But yeah.
I used to be the worst at following up. And yeah, you need systems to support you
They're
because
sexy as hell when they're converting.
what's that?
They're sexy as hell when they're converting.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And people always think that following up is like annoying someone. I appreciate follow up. Like there I might get something and I'm like, "Oh, there's something I want to look at." And then I get distracted with my self-proclaimed ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, but I
Oh,
believe.
TikTok diagnosis. Yes. I started with a TikTok diagnosis and then I got an official one. So
Yeah. And speaking of ADHD, I thought I had it. I don't know. I've never been diagnosed, and then I decided I need something to focus, and so I sought out to try to get medication for it, and then it was like the most difficult medication to get. Finally got it, and I took one. I took it once, and I thought I was going to die, and I was like, okay, never mind that. I'll just have to work with my ADHD, my self-proclaimed ADHD. But follow-up is so important, and I get that all the time from the students that they don't feel comfortable, that they feel like they're bothering someone or they're
oh,
sending
you
too
are.
many
You are
emails.
bothering people. You are bothering them. I'm going to just go ahead and say you're bothering them. Are you making the bother worth their time?
Mm.
You are interrupting their day. They are working and you are coming up on their shoulder and you're tapping them and saying, "Excuse me." When we are focused and doing something and someone does that, how annoyed do we get? But if you turned around and there was balloons, cake, and flowers, are
Mhm.
you interrupting someone's day for something that is worth their time? That is why firework experiences work, because it's already something they're looking for. That ideal client fit, don't sell them something they don't want, because now you have to sell them on two things: the idea of the thing and then the actual product service that you offer. Put something in front of them that they're already looking for. And so long as it's aligned to your strengths, then you're going to have a marketing machine on your hand. So make it worth the interruption.
I think I love the way you flip things on their head and they make so much sense. um, is the product complete or are you still working on it?
So it is about to go out to market. So I'm super excited. We've already got something like 25 people that have gone through the system and all that other stuff. So it's the viable product is headed out shortly in the next month or so. And so I will be doing kind of a ridiculous launch offer kind of thing for people to get on. And then I've already got 4 different fireworks that have been built out completely. And so people just need to insert this thing here and insert picture here. And the strategy, the standard operating procedures are all provided as part of that. And you get that from day one. And so, all the workflows, those templates, things like that are needed are all provided in the system, as well as training.
That is so good. I mean, I think almost every solopreneur needs that product because you just have a lot of balls up in the air, and if you can take that one thing off your plate, that's going to be a game changer because that's actually going to bring in revenue, which
Right.
is so important. So, if someone wanted to get a hold of that product, what's the best way for them to reach you and be able to, be the first ones to get notified about this?
I would email me at cat@actionincubator.com. That way, or they can go and opt in if they are a podcaster or they're using speaking as a visibility strategy. You can always head to visibilitymixer.com, and I host a free monthly podcast and networking visibility mixer every second Friday of the month at 12 p.m. Eastern. And they can kind of check out the community there and see if this is something that they want to be a part of.
I will definitely put that in the show notes. And I have been to your visibility networking thing. And I actually had a couple of people that came on the podcast from there. You have amazing people there. And the content that you share for free, people, is crazy. It's so good. It's amazing. But I think it's great because when you give freely, you're going to get it back. Because
Yeah.
people are going to be like, I want to work with you. If you're giving that away, I need to work with you.
Right. I mean, it's really around what I'm doing, and I walk my talk, which is karmically depositing into people's bank accounts. So I just am energetically depositing in here. If this is the one thing that's going to make a difference in your business and you never buy from me, awesome. Guess what? Who do you think they're going to refer when they meet someone who needs support from someone like me? Me. right? There's no doubt in my mind. And so it doesn't matter if you're a prospective client or you're a collaborator or a connector, all of them are welcome in my community. And I have people buying from other people there, and that's awesome. If I can be the conduit for someone getting to the right person, fantastic. It all comes back multiple times over, but I have to be in a place where I am detached. I am just looking for awesome people. Opportunity always presents itself, and I have the systems and processes to turn opportunity into revenue.
Another mic drop, and that is the mindset that you need to have when you are a business person. If you are desperate and you show up on a sales call with that, attachment to the outcome, and I mean, it just comes out of your pores, and that is where the sleaze comes in and everything else. And you're pulling out all these different tactics to try to close a deal or whatever. You don't need to do that. To Kat's point, just have a conversation with people, find out what they need, and provide it if you have it. If you don't, you know what? Refer them to somebody else who does, because that's also part of the karma, I think, in business. And in our industry, we refer business to one another, and I think it's so important. Don't take on a client you can't help.
Right. Again, just like a miniskirt. Sometimes just because you can doesn't mean you should.
You need to come on the show at least once a month. I want to hear all your sayings. It's so good. And your content, everything that you're sharing is amazing. And guys, you need to go to Kat's website and just go listen to the free stuff that's on there. It will change your business. Just the free stuff that's on there, you're going to want to work with Kat. And that system that you're talking about, everybody needs that. Anybody who has a business needs that, because the money's in the follow-up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You busy woman, and you still got here and put in an hour with me. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Have you ever felt called to help others find love? You might have the heart for matchmaking, but without the right training, turning that passion into a thriving business can feel impossible. Most matchmaking courses give you outdated theories and a certificate, but no real-world strategy to build a successful business. That's where Love Pro Mastermind Academy is different. Our live Done With You training goes beyond theory, helping you develop matchmaking expertise, implement sales and marketing strategies, and master the art of client success. With expert-led instruction, accountability, and a community of like-minded professionals, you'll learn how to identify your niche, attract high-quality clients, create a seamless matchmaking process, grow a sustainable, profitable business. With over a decade of experience, we don't just train matchmakers, we create leaders in the industry. Are you ready to become an LPMA certified matchmaker and build a business that changes lives? Apply today at lovepromastermind.com.
Thank you for tuning in to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with fellow matchmakers and friends. For more resources, training, and inspiration, visit lovepromastermind.com and follow us on social media. Remember, matchmaking isn't just a career, it's a calling. Let's keep building connections, changing lives, and growing together. Until next time, stay inspired and keep matching.